A lot of y'all have been able to travel to LA and do work out there. What do you guys think Toronto is lacking that LA has in terms of the music scene?
Did you say directly compare it to LA? Did you say like LA?
LA, yeah.
Why LA? It's a big planet. Why are we just gonna compare Toronto to LA?
That's the starting point.
All right, first off, like, I think the conversation of like unity here is very repetitive. Like, we're always like, oh, we need more unity. It's like always like the thing. And every content piece you get when it comes to like Toronto media and Toronto hip hop, I think there needs to be a collision of worlds here. Like, everybody, you can like look around this room and see like it's a lot of different people here. In Toronto, like, we're infamously culturally, like, it's like a melting pot over here. But I feel in terms of like the collaboration, you don't really see that. Raz's world is way different from my world. If we work together, that would be very left field and different. And that's two brands, cross-branding into something great. There's so much room for collaboration within different worlds. We can combine the street world with the hipster world. You know what I'm saying? We can combine like hip hop with R&B. Like, there's so many R&B artists that are willing to lend hooks to a lot of these rappers. You know what I mean? And it's a lot of rappers that aren't street, but like can contribute to a street rapper's album or song. We pride ourselves on this diversity that we claim to have, but why isn't it shown through the collaboration of the music?
One thing that I do feel is lacking, and not necessarily in the Canadian music scene, but just overall in hip hop and urban music in general, is rap songs with the R&B hook. Like how we would see a lot of that in,
like back in the day,
2000s. Yeah, that would be dope to see. I mean, like,
you ain't listened to my new album, bro.
We got to get into that.
That's the problem. That's the problem. That's the problem. It exists, but we're not actively looking for it. We say we want these things and we miss these things, but they do exist. I got Ray Robinson singing hooks on the album. The whole album is men singing hooks, and I'm rapping. But that's the point of my album, Pretty Boys Break My Heart, which is already out. So that it exists and it's there. Pretty Boys Break My Heart. And it's literally singing on the hooks and me rapping because I wanted to bring that feeling back. So it does exist.
I think really the only thing that we lack is the numbers. We just don't have an abundance of people. There's more people in all of California than there is in all of Canada. So I could have every single person in Canada buy my album, and one person in California could just have all the Californians buy the album. That's what I feel we lack. So you have to just have more kids.
Different cities have a different level of infrastructure when it comes to media, entertainment, the history of records that have been put out there. The next man could be like, oh, Toronto, there's a lot of opportunity. Drake, like, from the outside looking in. For every artist, there's where you're from and the level of infrastructure that you can take advantage of. But the beautiful thing is it's online too. That's why there is people from nowhere that are blowing up. But at the same time, you just have to know what you can take advantage of in your city. You can just keep talking about where you lack. But it's like, what are you gonna do?
Part of the problem is media, news outlets, publications. PR is supposed to be worth something. And so if I pay $1,000 a month for fucking PR for me to get on Complex, the regular hip hop mags or blogs, they're not as important as they were before the era of streaming. Hip Hop Canada, City on My Back, those things that existed in the early 2010s, they never had enough reach. Entertainment Tonight, CBC, all these major platforms were never featuring urban artists. And they had the duty to do that because the CRTC told them they got to play at least 40% CanCon. They have to feature Canadian artists, but it's easier just to do Drake, Weeknd, maybe Tory, and then that's it.
So you feel like it's a lack support thing type of thing, basically?
It's not even a support thing. They're not doing their job. And I feel like Canada dropped the ball on promoting the young stars that could have been big stars or people that they could have like put at the top to just feature the same motherfuckers that been popping and not rap niggas, because rap niggas have always been ignored. Whether it's you talk about Choclair, Socrates, Cardi always gets love, but it's because Cardi respectfully knows how to play the game, right? He knows that I can't just stay in this rap world. I got to get in this world, that world. Same with Maestro. I got to start acting. I got to start doing this. So when you start doing that, then, the white people look at you like, oh, yeah, he's a good guy. But for us that, just are in the art form, we just weren't featured because they never cared about the art form. They never thought it was lucrative enough. They didn't think enough eyes would be on it. So we never got featured on bigger things that would show us to a mass audience. Media is the middle ground between the audience and the artist, right? They stand in the middle of promoting us and showing us to the world. if not them, we got to do it our own way. And we did it through the internet. We're hustlers. We're going to do it regardless. And I mean, I heard you talking about publications not featuring your shit.
I think it's real important that we talk about that, what Raz had posted the other day, because I remember a couple years ago there was a situation with Raz and the media was posting that, like, you know, something unfortunate happened and that was a headline on some magazines, but then he drops an album and then they don't say nothing. So it's like when something unfortunate happened, you guys were quick to post it and everything like that, but then he drops, you know, some of the greatest music coming out of the country and everybody is radio silent. The media does have a responsibility to play more of a part when it comes to hip hop, dance hall, reggae, rap, all that stuff, R&B. They do have a responsibility, and I don't think they take it that serious here, but Raz spoke on perspective. And the perspective is when I went to New York, when I went to LA, North Carolina, Atlanta, they think that we're united. They're like, yo, I wish artists here were like united like Toronto. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting because we wish we were like Atlanta. So it is perspective. It's literally what we think. We think the grass is greener, but I promise if you've been in that grass, it's not greener. It's just a reflection of the light over there. That's all.
The infrastructure that those places have makes it easier for artists to communicate. Say, for instance, when I'm in LA and I'm rolling with Smiley, I just don't go and check him just to chill. He'll invite me to like PR runs where his PR is the City Girls and Lil Wayne and rolls with like Rock Nation. And so I'm at like a lot of different little parties and stuff, and I'm just taking in how it works. They have these events. Just like how you set this up, how we can all communicate and talk and see each other.
Personally, I've been trying to make more of an effort to pop out at like concerts and stuff, like when somebody's just throwing a show. And I do think, like, to your point, that is like really important for us to kind of like just see each other out.
One thing that I wanted to touch on is like, I feel like the city, a lot of like outlets aren't doing things like this because they're scared. When people form things like this, they're kind of wary of like, okay, well, is this person beefing with that person? I don't want to run into no politics, things like that. And I feel like that kind of prohibits a lot of like people just going out of their way to create situations like this where we can all come together as artists and actually share our thoughts on certain scenarios and things like that. People should take the DJ Snoopy effect, like, sorry, I gotta shut you out. He doesn't really choose a side. He's very like, I'm putting everyone on. That's the take I feel like a lot of Toronto outlets should take, is like, yo, at the end of the day, I'm not involved. That's how I feel like a lot of outlets should approach things.
Chucky, I have a question for you. What was your experiences like building your name when you were making music?
It's funny because Rich Kid mentioned this earlier. It was kind of like the dark ages. When I first came out, you know, there was no YouTube, all that shit. We literally just posted to like any internet hosting service that could basically upload that, and we would crash servers, right? Like I remember when I first worked with Paul from JannyFish.com, we were, you know, we're just kids from the hood. We were just doing it for the love of the art, right? Making videos, putting the music out there. And like I said, YouTube hadn't even come out yet, right? So we're just posting. When YouTube came out, then we started capitalizing on that, right? But dude, I literally used to fucking scour forums, internet forums, trying to promote, you know, just promote the songs, promote whatever it is, and just try to get out there. Not different from what we're doing now, right? Obviously the scheme now, the marketing and promotion schemes are to a higher fucking standard, right? So, dude, the only thing I can say is we were just out there grinding, pushing out the old school way CDs through the hood, fucking both up top, south side, same shit.
There's this period before the 2000s or before like the mid 2000s where it's like Choclair, you got Socrates, you got Chaos, you got all these like heavyweight 90s Canadian giants, right? Like Julie Black, all of those artists. And then in the 2000s, it's like you can't find shit online. There's like a certain era of Canadian rap that's kind of been erased because it wasn't documented. YouTube just started. Much music wasn't really playing like independent Canadian music videos, right? You know what I mean? Even 100 Strong Arm. You remember that track when I had all them niggas on it? Like 100, like I grew up, bro, I grew up listening to 100 Strong Arm and I was just like, yo, I want to be a Toronto rapper. I want to be a rapper now, nigga. Like we don't have that. We don't have documentation of that. Like like it's on YouTube, but there's no collective. You know how like when you look at like old school like Toronto videos and it always has the Much Music shit in the corner. We don't have like shit like that. Like you have to like literally find these artists and know about these artists to fucking find their shit, right? So When I told them we're from the dark ages of Canadian hip hop, it was that era where it wasn't documented through either much music or streaming, right? Everything in between kind of got lost in the shuffle, and every blog site that we were on is gone, right? Like Hip Hop Canada forums is gone. City on My Back is pretty much gone. That Piff is gone.
I remember, we used to fight for positions on that top 10 on City on My Back. I'm messaging Ty Harper. I'm like, yo, put me on that, bro. Like, so the fact that those don't exist anymore, a lot of their music went away with those platforms, and it's really unfortunate.
The last few years, you've been able to be Juno nominated with your cousin Maestro Fresh West. So how does that feel?
It's a cousin?
Wait, what? Nigga. Maestro's your cousin?
Yo, you know that, bro.
I didn't know that. Why didn't you tell me that?
You see why we gotta have more shit like this?
It's great to be nominated with Maestro for Children's Album of the Year. It's something I never thought would happen. You know, I've always been a rapper's rapper, so when he called me and said, yo, I need you to voice this character for my book for the children's album, obviously I'm gonna oblige. But I didn't know that, the next year he gave me my own children's album from that character. And that's when, we got that second nomination for Julia the Great. He's constantly making me explore a whole new creative side of me that I didn't even know existed. So just to have that mentor and that kind of guidance from him just means the world.
Yo, weren't you on the This Is Why I'm Hot remix?
No, Mims was on my record.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. You had a Mims record.
Yeah, he was on my record. Yeah.
You had a Mims record?
You never knew that?
Yeah,
What
bro.
record was
Devontae, I have a question for you. What does woe symbolize for you?
It means working on excellence. At first, it was we over everything, and then I felt like it was a little too cocky.
How did you feel when your cousin got it tatted?
I was like, nigga, it's bigger than mine. What the hell? Pause. I'm like, holy. My logo's gonna be in 2K? I was sick.
You really a nigga, huh? Niggas already thinking about 2K.
You don't have much tattoos though.
Yeah, it's like every time he shoots, is right there.
Snoopy, I have a question for you. Being in the DJ scene for a decade plus, what do you think is something that Toronto music needs?
The artists them need to just, work together and make some bangers, Some real music that can be played on the radio, in the clubs. Their mom could sing it, their kids could sing it. And they could be able to come outside and be in the same place and hear it in the party and feel that energy and that love of the people that are singing their music, make music, not to go gang. You gotta like you don't need to wear push shirts. You can actually come out and show your face, bust down, clean lineup, ooh. I don't know what they're thinking about when they're in the studio, but they're not making music,
They call it. It's not hip hop, it's hip hop.
I'm joking. Listen. I'm outside every day, all type of events, working, this all type of music, and the Toronto music is not it. It's not really given. Some of it's it, but it's not it. Make sense? And even if I'm if I play
When you
it,
say it's not it, right? What do you mean by Toronto music?
Toronto, Brampton, Mississauga, Scarborough, Pickering, all of them.
So you mean the general area of the urban
Huh?
area?
I listen to everything.
I can ship it.
Listen, I'll bump it at home. Ooh, yeah, okay, I heard it, yeah.
So if you'll bump it at home, what do you mean by it's not it?
I played in the club and you're talking about Dead Homie Year. No disrespect to the OGs and the Woo and the real music and the real hip hop and the real R&B and the real people that are making quality music. I'm just saying, the ones that are just on the media dropping this and that, they could do better and work with the OGs. Like you just said, work with each other,
I actually do agree in some ways that there needs to be more records for girls. Don't get me wrong, it's street artists really telling their truth on records, and I understand that. But at the same time, it is a music business. And we really need to be thinking about way more than our block. I always go by think global, act local. You have an understanding for where you came from, but you also know you gotta make it out of there in order to really show the world where you're from. We all know the rundown of the same 4 songs that get played that get the reaction, but are street records. Not against street records. Some of these songs got melodic hooks, they're sing-songy, but they're dissing somebody that died. Taylor has songs that are fucking very, very much so you could fucking service them to DJs. Devontae, just listening to some of his records, it's I told you the other day, Bear Tangs is a fucking Canadian heritage moment to me. All in all, it's I do feel there's just so much more to Toronto than ops and politics.
I live know them when they're like this. happy kids dancing.
We see the videos.
Come on, I know them. So when I hear them talking, get up this, up that, they're not even involved or even killed that person, but they're calling their names and it's getting them in deeper problems. Their neighborhood, they're dying. Like you said, if they make a nice girl song, imagine Top 5 make a girl song upon an Afro beat. You can do it. You're an artist. Imagine this person who had beef with this person makes a song, it can squash certain things, and maybe you two could come do a show and the wedding might make you do the show because they're not expecting you guys to even be friends or be involved.
A lot of us know each other way before music. So in his situation as a DJ, a lot of these guys became artists. And he has parties. A lot of niggas are in these parties. So it's like, yo, run my thing. Nobody knows what he has to deal with outside of that club or in his phone, in his text message, in his WhatsApp, on his, however he communicates with artists, because niggas will be like, yo fam, honestly, like, I don't want you playing those guys no more. He's speaking because he wants us to work together more because it's gonna make his job and a lot of other guys' job easier. And I know this because I've been making music from a time when like, I had to get my stuff on Toronto Rappers, High Grade, Hip Hop Canada. I'm pulling up to shows, I'm watching you perform, Tori used to bring me everywhere. I'm watching like, okay, this is like the guys that are like doing it in Toronto. Like I'm trying to like get on this wave, like, but I didn't know how to get in the door. And then the internet started to take off, and that's when I didn't need that anymore.
There's another part of hip hop too, like we haven't touched upon, too, like what happened to that soulful like storytelling, you know, about the struggle, right? Like, you know, like I get the club stuff and all that too, right? And the girl stuff too, right? But like for me, hip hop was always about telling someone's story, you know, not glorifying the hood, you know, but trying to tell the story about how we getting out of it, right? How we getting out of it, what we're going through, right? That's the shit that I always resonated to. And that's a part of hip hop that I feel like doesn't get that much love in a way because, you know, it's not like a radio hit, right? But that's the shit that you listen to when you're vibing on your own. Well, that's the kind of music that I always felt that was real because that's an artist's vulnerability, right? They're expressing their emotions.
He just dropped a really dope album that talks about the struggle. So I implore you to listen to Raz's new album. I don't know if you heard, if you know Tona, but Tona dropped a record with Adam Bomb called 3 Words, and it talks about that. It's a very dope record. So, you know, like I sing it from the mountaintops. It exists. The music is there. We have to look for it though, because there's so much music.
Respectfully, like that album I just dropped with Muggs. You know DJ Muggs?
What's the name of it?
It's called The Eternal Now. So yeah, like there's a lot of like everything you just asked for. There's a lot of that on that album.
I mean, I think it's like subjective to the perspective of like where you are. If you need to ask me about like a neo-soul artist, R&B artist, a techno artist, a rap artist, a fucking goth artist, I'm sure you can ask all of us and we can name probably one of them. So it's like, it's just really about what we like. It's all personal perspective.
I agree with you. It's you know, the American audience and the geography of it plays a part in it, but I also feel it's like, it's also demographics, right? Like, we have a lot of people here. Like, I would say, because France is the second biggest hip hop market, right? Outside of the States. And they have like 62 million. We have, what, about 40 million now? It's 20 million off. But our hip hop, like there's a number of countries between us and France when it comes to a hip hop market, right? Like in terms of rappers selling and shit like that. So essentially to me, that means like, what is our demographic? How many black people are around this country that fucking identify with the culture or feel like they identify with the culture, right? And then after that, you know what I mean, there's those other, you know, cultures that like just love hip hop that will come to the show, support it. They'll be big fans and stuff like that. Like geography is an issue, but I feel it's more demographics, right? Like who is in the country identifying with the things we create, whether it's, you know, rap pop music, whether it's shit for the clubs, or whether it's like the soulful shit you create, like, you know what I mean? Like it's just, we don't have that demographic for it. How come in Quebec a nigga could go platinum? Just in Quebec. Because they have a whole province of niggas that just speak French.
Shawnee Those Res Kids is they're an indigenous hip hop group. And their following is absolutely bananas. And but it's because they have the whole indigenous community in Canada and the US behind them. They tour the US every state, every year they do it, and they sell out every show. They average millions of views every time they drop an album. And they're hip hop and they're Canadian. To Rich's point, they have that community of people behind them. You have this duo from Vancouver who is selling millions of records in this country. So it exists, it can happen, but we're that support for us as individuals. She's a rapper, I'm a rapper, but we have two completely different sounds and styles. But at the end of the day, my demographic and hers don't really cross. So it's to Rich's point, it's very interesting.
I feel like I've been very fortunate in the small time that I've been in the music industry. I did the Legacy Awards last year. I feel like a lot of females that like make music similar to what I make don't necessarily get those opportunities, but I also do go a lot into the pocket of like old school music, 90s like vibes, early 2000s vibes, like Lil' Kim, Foxy Brown, whatever the case is. Like those are the people that I get compared to a lot. If you go to like the States demographic, you'll hear a lot of women talking about pussy this, pussy that, nigga this, nigga that, trick this, trick that, da da da, right? When it comes to like Toronto platforms, the people that are getting Juno Awards, the people that are getting recognition and like Legacy Awards, things like that, they're not really talking about that stuff.
What we seen as Canadians, and I'm not talking about like just American, but what we seen as Canadians was an exploitation of black people, right? What we take in from what they give us is the pain, the struggle, all those kind of things that are now synonymous with like just black life, right? Because not every black person goes through the same kind of struggle as a black person in poverty. But that is the main black look. Like, you have to live in poverty, you have to struggle. And even if you didn't, you have to pretend that you grew up in the struggle to fucking relate, right? So in rap music now, like, that's the thought. Like, you gotta struggle, you gotta come up from the ghetto, you gotta come up from the projects. Like, that is almost like the baseline of rap. When really, rap started in the party, right? Rap was about gathering hip hop was about gathering and doing things together as a disenfranchised community that didn't get their voices heard, right? So when it comes to Canadian rap, we're looking at it as outsiders now adopting it in our culture, but the exploitation isn't there, right? Big labels don't look at us individually like, oh, okay, niggas are like him. Like, all these niggas are like him, okay, we put it out, and we'll tell them like, yo, make it more violent, make it more party, make it more. Labels don't do that up here. In the States, they rather a rapper dead. They profit more off a dead rapper than they do when you're alive. Pop Smoke is making more money dead than alive. Tupac, Biggie made more money dead than alive, right? So they profit off of the exploitation, the violence, all the negative aspects of hip hop, right? And up here in Canada, because we have a history, or not just we, I mean, the white guys that are at the top have a history of being conservative, right? Like, they don't need that to make their money. We don't need to exploit you black. We make our money without you niggas.
People are always mad at like, oh, this business for not working with us, but it's like, why are you trying to work with a nigga that don't like you? Like, if the world fucks with you, they fuck with you. If they don't, they don't. Yes, but there is marketing and all these things that like they could like boost you, you know? But at the end of the day, I think it's just like, it's like if a girl likes you, a girl that doesn't like you. She likes your niggas, she likes your niggas, sorry.
Do you guys ever make songs that blow up that you were not expecting?
Bro, that song I literally made in a cold cellar in the engineer's house, and like I put $0, zero thought, zero anything. My biggest songs, I've put zero ever in like effort into like making it big. All the songs I put all of my money into and went broke over hundreds of times over and over never did what the things that just genuinely worked. And that's for me, like everyone's story is different.
What were some tactics that worked for you? And what was it like gaining your fan base?
It was a weird time. I think a lot of it just had to do with timing and luck. I was like in the, I have vivid memories of being like Drake was like #1 on MySpace. Like we were on the MySpace charts and I was like #2. And that was just for like, I guess like Canadian hip hop and things of that nature. And I just remember those times being like, just like Chucky was saying, like having to go on message boards and forums and like just like posting and just seeing if anybody will reply back, you know, and getting any feedback possible. And I just understood like from the beginning that discussion like really drives it. Like, how are you gonna polarize people? How are you gonna get people to talk about you? Like, how are people gonna really give a fuck about this? And at the time too, I was well aware that I was Canadian. So I knew it's like, this is gonna be a little harder than if I was like an Asian kid from California. You know, so I think the internet had like, especially the transitional period that the internet was in, had a big help in that. But to be honest with you, when YouTube came out, I was just using YouTube to embed my videos on my MySpace. And then when I figured out that they had a comment section, and the comment section was actually active, like there would be like 13 to 24 comments on there. And I'm like, I'm 15 years old. 24 comments about me? Like, what's going on? So that almost put a battery in my back to be like, all right, so how much, like, what more can I get out of this? And just like kind of, again, I didn't have no marketing, or I didn't have like a staff back then. It was just like 15-year-old me in my bedroom. So I'm like, all right, I guess flood content, almost like what's happening now. Like the influx of, you know, having to put out a reel or a TikTok or any of this short form content. I was very much ahead of the curve in understanding that short form content was a thing, because we like at the time too, like TV was, you know, we had Rap City, we had like, you know, 106 in Park, Channel 49, shout out. But we had like things like that, but like, it's like, how am I going to get on there? I can't. So what do I have in front of me? Okay, I have like MySpace and I have YouTube. You know, one person I collaborated with was this guy named Timothy De La Ghetto, and he was like all the way in California. And because California had such like an Asian demographic, a lot of that audience kind of came back to us always collaborating, and we cross-branded. He kind of got some of my Canadian audience and just in general my audience, and I started kind of being, you know, engulfed into his world, which, you know, had me with a different set of eyes other than my hometown. And I remember, you know, there were times like I met Rich when I was 15, like freestyling on the radio. So like I was still working the main market, but it was like, all right, maybe I could take some of these freestyles and just put them out online. This is pre-algorithm. So it's like every single week we were like, all right, what's the hottest record out right now? It was like almost like a dartboard. We just had it right in front of us. All right, boom. That record, all right, throw a 16 on there. Throw a 16 bar verse on there. Take my mom's Panasonic Lumix camera, go out. Mind you, I edit and direct everything. So I was editing and directing everything. My overhead was literally nothing.
Raz, you have an incredible discography on the production side. You have records with Mac Miller, French Montana, Tyga, Big Sean. Rich, same thing. You have an incredible discography. You know, you have records that you produce with Drake. You also, on the other hand, have Kendrick Lamar on video saying that he wants to work with you.
What are some, I guess, like Canadian artists that you've like recognized and would like to work with?
Rich Kid.
What advice would you guys give to producers out there?
Get a lawyer. A lawyer is probably the most important part of that, because you want to make sure you don't get fucked over, right? They're going to send you over a contract. You need to get it read over. Make sure everything that you want in the terms is, you know, applicable or just good for you. But at the end of the day, I don't think because of anything that's happened in the past that Canadian-American relations has fucking deteriorated or changed. Like, bro, like we gave them a sound, right? Like, you know, Kendrick's one of my favorite artists, but, you know, Boy Wonder gave him some sounds. T-Minus gave him his first big single with Swimming Pool. So, bro, there ain't no change in what's going on. Maybe because the biggest artist and him are beefing, but like in terms of what we do as artists, like nothing has changed. And I think most Americans know like we have a sound that they want. I remember when going down to fucking LA in 2011, and they're like, I'm in studios with like different R&B artists. They're like, give me that Weekend sound. Like, nigga, like you can't say that shit and then after say, oh yeah, Canada doesn't have a sound. Like, fuck out of here. I know we have a sound. I heard you talk about our sound. Whatever comes from our artists is our sound. If Dr. Dre and Snoop make fucking G-Funk, that's their sound, right? That's their sound. If Premier and fucking Guru make fucking shit for Gangstar, that's the hip hop, that's the boom bap sound, right? So we have our sound, right? So ain't nothing changed. We just continue to go there and fucking take over, right? Like I remember when, you know, I'll tell this story quick. There was a party at the Playboy Mansion. This was on the day Whitney Houston died. And me and a whole bunch of my niggas was down there. Remember, we were kind of like, we're feeling bad about Whitney, because Whitney's a fucking god. She's an icon, you know what I mean? So we're bumping Whitney Houston as we're ironing our clothes. There's a Playboy Mansion party. We're trying to get ready for that. And then,
Yo, what?
don't worry. It's all going to link up in the end. So where we had to pick up, because we couldn't drive to the Playboy Mansion, we had to take a shuttle bus. Where we met to get the shuttle bus was the same hotel Whitney Houston died at, the Beverly Hilton. News cameras everywhere, shit like that. Just like, this fucking surreal. We catch that bus, or fucking limo, or fucking stretch limo to go to Playboy Mansion. And what I didn't mention was it was a party hosted by Boy Wonder and T-Minus, right? It was sponsored by Grey Goose. But like, we're a whole bunch of young Canadian niggas. Like, this is when Drake had just maybe dropped Thank Me Later. He didn't drop Take Care yet. And then we go into this party, and then it's like the whole VIP section is just Canadian niggas. Like, it's just us. And the feeling I got from that was so like,
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, nigga, we here, nigga. Like, we need more of that. We just need more wins. And to win, we gotta win together. Yeah. Yes, the unity shit always sounds cliche and lame, but like, it's real though. Yeah.